A recent Gallup poll out shows that 75% of Americans think that the government is corrupt. So let me go through this. Now, as I said, this was a Gallup poll released on September 19th that revealed that in 2014, 75% of Americans said that widespread corruption is pervasive in the United States government. Now, why is that important? Well, first of all, for those of you who've been watching this channel, who've been listening to me for a while, you already know. We have a massive problem with corruption in the government. We've got a massive problem with money in politics. For the most part, I think that's what adds to this corruption. I think that's really the source of this corruption. It's just how easy it is to give our politicians legal bribes. Now, the public knows this. That's why the public is massively against things like Citizens United. The citizenry, for the most part, is against the idea that money equals speech and that corporations are people. When you ask somebody, is GlaxoSmithKline a person? You ask somebody that, they're going to be like, no, what the fuck? You're a crazy person. Why would you ask me that question? Obviously, it's not a person. But you ask our politicians, you ask Republicans for the most part, and some Democrats, and they're going to tell you, well, absolutely they're a person. By the way, they gave me a lot of money during my last campaign. Of course they're a person. It just shows you kind of the depth of how out of touch these politicians are. And Americans know that. And that's why they're saying, hey man, we know that our government is corrupt. We know that it's the money doing it. Now whether or not we agree as people on what to do about it, well, there are some different things. There's people saying, well, let's just have more transparent donations so that at least we know who bought our politicians in the first place. There's that meme with the NASCAR jackets going around. That's been going around for a long time. So at least we know who's bought our politicians, who they represent, because we know for damn sure that they don't represent us. Now, there are some other different ways, of course, to get rid of this money in politics. Different solutions. For example, there is some amendments out there. There's, of course, the Larry Lessig presidency or candidacy that's going on as well. I'm not really in support of that, but I understand the idea behind it, and I understand the goal behind it. But nonetheless, let's get back to the poll here. Now, this is significant because this is an increase of 9% than 6 years ago. So more Americans are finding out and are realizing, hey, our government is fucking corrupt. They're only serving the rich. They're only serving multinational corporations. And we don't like it. We're getting pissed off about it. Now, it does show a drop. Weirdly enough, in 2013, 79% of Americans agreed that the government was corrupt. What happened? In just 2 years, it went down? Strange. Now, there was another international poll that was conducted by Freedom House. Now, in this poll, the U.S. ranked as the 13th population most distrustful of its government. Now that sounds familiar. Now, if you distrust your government, you're more likely to be somebody of a Republican conservative mentality. Somebody who supports small government. Not always. And, you know, I of course, embody the difference in that, the exception to that. I am somebody who believes government can work, but I believe government has been captured. So I'm also distrustful of our government simply because of things like warrantless wiretapping and the NSA program and things like that. I'm generally distrustful of programs like that. So, you know, I'm part of the group that says, yeah, I don't trust our government to do certain things right with the way it is now. That doesn't mean that we can't recapture the government from those who are obviously abusing their power, who are spying in on Americans, and are giving massive giveaways to the powerful, to the elite, to the wealthy, and corporations. I'm one of those people who thinks that under the correct circumstances, government can and should work for the people. Now, their poll includes countries that have freedom of the press, It only includes countries that have freedom of the press. Sorry. Ghana and Portugal are the third and second most pessimistic populations, with Lithuania topping the list with 90%. 90% of Lithuanians are like, ooh, yeah, no. We don't trust the government at all. We know they're corrupt. Now, it's not surprising. As I said, there are a lot of different things, different scandals plaguing the government, as well as, the NSA spying revelations, Edward Snowden. This article mentions that. Now, the interesting implications to this is on the election. We've seen this distrust, we've seen this corruption angle show up in the popularity of certain presidential candidates. For example, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an outsider, and in his rare lucidity, points out different things about how corrupt the government is, about how he can get to Hillary Clinton and then ask her to come to his wedding. That was one of the examples, but it pretty much points out how receptive politicians are when somebody gives them campaign donations or legalized bribes. It's really kind of fascinating how that shows up, as well as his popularity for being an outsider, as well as Ben Carson, also an outsider, Carly Fiorina, outsider. None of them have ever served in government. Now, you go over to the left side, Bernie Sanders, also considered an outsider because he's challenging the establishment. People are sick of the establishment, and this poll really kind of reflects why. And this is why we're having a very interesting outsiders race. And it also presents an opportunity to change the system. With so many Americans disaffected by our corrupt system, and with so many Americans seeing the problem of money in politics, this gives us a rare opportunity to push the message and to make a change. To push for actual, real systemic change. Not 5% change, not hope and change, actual change. By actually pushing policies and politicians that actually give a damn. In my opinion, that would be Bernie Sanders. Pushing politicians and policies from the outside to change the establishment. That's why this election is incredibly important. And that's why this is a rare opportunity. And I hope that we don't squander that opportunity.